Okay, let's just dive right into this, because the story starts with the most ordinary moment imaginable. Picture a guy in his bathroom, right? Early morning, still half asleep, just brushing his teeth. You'll look up at the glass, totally expecting to see your own tired eyes staring back at you, but instead, you see something literally impossible. For just a split second, his reflection didn't show him in his bathroom at all. He was standing in this stark hospital hallway. He looked older, pale, absolutely terrified, and there was this glowing number above a door right behind him. Then he blinked, and just like that, the hallway was gone. It was just his own normal reflection again. Now, like pretty much any of us would do, he just kind of laughed it off, right? Splashed some water on his face, figured it was a trick of the mind, and walked away. But it was definitely not a hallucination. The escalation here was terrifyingly fast. I mean, by sunset of that exact same day, the entire world was reporting the exact same impossible thing. Mirrors were no longer showing the present, they were showing the future. And we know this for sure because the predictions started coming true almost immediately. A woman saw herself wearing a black coat she hadn't bought yet, so naturally she went out and bought it. A student brushing his hair saw a jagged scar on his cheek. Later that day, he ducked just in time to avoid this brutal bicycle crash and walked away with a smaller version of that exact scar he'd seen in the glass. The phenomenon was undeniably real.
Section 1. The Fragments of Tomorrow. Piecing Together the Fear.
Now, what's fascinating here is that the future never arrived all at once, you know? You didn't get some feature-length documentary of your life. It came in these sharp, terrifying fragments, which basically forced the human mind to build its own fear around the missing pieces. As the stock market tanked and governments went into full-blown panic mode, people were literally rushing to public mirrors in elevators and lobbies. But they didn't see the whole picture. On one hand, sure, you had the bright futures, winning lottery numbers, people dodging fatal accidents, or getting early medical diagnoses that saved their lives. But on the flip side, absolute, uncompromising devastation. A Tokyo man weeping in a funeral suit. A teacher in Cairo staring out at a totally empty classroom. A London mother seeing her young son waiting completely alone in the heavy rain. The glass was just this cold, impartial judge.
So this overwhelming existential dread literally split the world right down the middle into two distinct camps. First, you had the ignorers. These were the folks who covered up every mirror in their house with cloth, choosing to live in deliberate ignorance. Their mindset was basically, if you can't control the future, it's better left unseen. And directly opposed to them were the lookers. These people were desperate. They would stare into the glass for hours on end, treating their reflections like lottery tickets, prophecy engines, and really just essential survival tools.
But the thing is, the lookers soon learned a really hard truth. Seeing the future didn't always save you. Actually, scratch that. Sometimes it made things worse. Imagine a guy seeing his future bankruptcy in his bathroom mirror. In a total panic, he rushes to empty all his bank accounts early. Well, that very action triggers the exact financial collapse he was trying to avoid. It's wild to think about, but sometimes the image itself became the very chain of events that fulfilled the prophecy. The future could literally poison the present.
And the scientific mystery of all this deepened with a massive breakthrough, and it came from a blind woman. Unable to see her own reflection, she held a hand mirror up to a window and somehow accurately predicted events happening in the room behind her. She knew exactly when a vase was going to fall, or exactly when a neighbor would walk in. This was a massive game changer because it proved the mirrors weren't just bouncing back physical light. No, they were revealing a much deeper timeline. It suggested the future was always there, just waiting behind the surface of the world, with the mirror acting as a really thin door.
Obviously, society had to rapidly adapt to this terrifying new reality, and daily life completely transformed. Entire cities redesigned their public spaces just to drastically reduce reflective surfaces. The real estate market totally shifted, giving rise to these crazy expensive, mirrorless luxury apartments. Schools even started teaching something called future literacy, basically training kids how to look at their reflections without having a panic attack, but also teaching them to never fully trust what they saw either. And yeah, a whole new field of psychology popped up, with therapists specifically treating mirror anxiety. Yet amidst all that panic, it wasn't all fear. Some people actually found profound comfort in the glass. Think about a father who had lost absolutely everything, but then he sees himself walking into a new office wearing a tie he didn't even own yet. That gave him the courage to keep applying for jobs. Or a sick girl who saw herself laughing in a hospital garden years in the future. That gave her the strength to endure her treatments. Or even a lonely old man who chose to stay alive simply because his mirror showed him sitting with 3 grandchildren he didn't have yet. Sometimes, you see, the mirror wasn't a curse. It was a reason to keep going. This fundamentally changes everything we thought we knew about time. Scientists started noticing that the future actually responded to attention. The more intensely someone stared, the more the image shifted and blurred. This sparked the theory of momentum versus fate. It meant the mirror wasn't showing some fixed, unavoidable photograph of destiny. It was actually a living field of possibilities reacting to your current choices, your habits, your momentum. It was basically an ongoing negotiation with who you are right now.
Section 2. The Day the World Broke. A shared vision of the end. Just as society was getting used to the strange negotiation, everything flipped again. Right at noon one day, the mirrors suddenly stopped showing individual paths. Instead, they simultaneously showed millions of people across the globe one massive shared scene: a darkened sky, empty streets, and a continent-spanning blackout. Now, this terrifying image lasted exactly 7 seconds. Just 7 seconds, but it triggered such a dramatic and immediate change in human behavior, people rushing for supplies, power companies scrambling to issue emergency statements, airports totally halting flights, that the blackout was entirely prevented before it even had a chance to begin. Humanity realized that seeing the future didn't mean surrendering to it. It meant responsibility had suddenly become immediate.
But, honestly, the most chilling discovery of this whole ordeal happened in an abandoned research facility. A team studying mirrors under extreme conditions found an empty mirror in a dark room, but it didn't reflect the scientists. Instead, it displayed that exact same room years in the future, dusty and abandoned, with a changing, handwritten message on the glass that read, "You were warned in time." Every single time they ran the test, the handwriting and the date changed. It was as if someone or something on the other side of time was answering back. The glass had always been listening.
Ultimately, the mirrors didn't take away our freedom. They just made it impossible to ignore. Every act of kindness, every reckless move, now carried the heavy weight of previewed consequences. So it really makes you wonder, if your reflection showed you an impossible future, would you run from it? Or would you stare until you became the person that future needed you to be? The future isn't just something that happens to us. It's something we build. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and next time you walk past a glass, keep questioning what you see.